German foreign ministers urged the EU to review its policies towards the US in light of Washington's sanctions against a number of foreign states.
We must adapt our politics to fit the new reality. We must take Washington's new attitude into account when formulating our foreign policy. This means that Europe must take more responsibility for its own security. We have to be ready in case Europe and America go their separate ways. Where the US crosses red lines, we, as Europeans, must counterbalance, as hard as that is. It is indispensable that we strengthen European autonomy by creating payment channels that are independent of the United States, a European monetary fund, and an independent SWIFT system.
The global payment network, known as SWIFT, is used by 11,000 financial institutions in 200 countries. It claims political neutrality, but has apparently caved into American pressure in the past. After Washington dumped the Iran nuclear deal and reimposed sanctions, SWIFT had a clear choice: cut off Iranian banks from its systems or face an asset freeze, travel bans and restrictions on its business in America. But the EU has said it's still committed to the Iranian deal without the US.
We are determined to protect European economic operators engaged in legitimate business with Iran. This is why the European Union's updated blocking statute enters into force on the 7th of August to protect EU companies doing legitimate business with Iran from the impact of US extraterritorial sanctions.
We believe that it is, and it has to be, up to the Europeans in this case to decide with whom to trade.
Well, we're now joined by Bijan Tavasoli, member of the Die Linke Party, who's in Hamburg, Germany. Mr. Tavasoli, thank you for coming on the programme for us. Now, Heiko Maas's words were far stronger just a few days ago. What does this change in rhetoric tell us?
Well, I would be among the first to applaud him if it was more than just a change in rhetoric. But so far, we have seen little sign of it, because he has been talking about an alliance with Canada and European Union countries. But if he were to really challenge the US hegemony, then he would have to include other European countries such as Russia as well.
And what's your opinion about the ways out of this crisis suggested by Maas?
Well, of course, if you could build a new monetary system, then you would have a way to challenge the power of the US. But that can only be done if you include Russia, if you include China and other countries. And so far, he has not been willing to do that.
If we were to create an alternative to the SWIFT payment system, I mean, first of all, is that at all possible? And is it possible to do it quickly enough to minimize the financial risks?
It would be tough, because right now, most of the transactions in the world are going through the SWIFT payment system. But if you could include major countries, then in a short timeline, you could at least take some of the transactions off, and by doing so, could take some of the pressure from countries such as Iran and from companies that are doing business with countries such as Iran.
What other possible options does the EU have to protect the Iran deal now?
I don't think there are any options. I think the deal is in a very critical phase right now. If you look at the situation in Iran, then the government is split whether to continue with the deal or whether to renegotiate with other countries, or maybe even to restart the nuclear program. So I think the European Union is in a bind, and it has to consult with its allies, such as Russia and China, who have been part of that deal.
Do you think the EU will confront the US with physical action and not just words?
I'm very doubtful on that, because as my cherished colleague Dieter Dehm has said, Heiko Maas has in the past only been a well-paid prostitute of NATO, and I have nothing to add or subtract from that comment.
So what does this mean for the future of US-EU relations?
Well, if it were to be followed through, then we could see a different stage of relations. But we are now in a very early stage, and My party is, of course, very much in favor of such a realignment.